talk about North Korea, and we've been getting a number of questions from clients about North Korea and how that might affect your financial plan. So today we wanted to talk about North Korea. So how does it affect you? What if there is no war? What if there is some type of an event? And first of all, Charlie, I think it's fair to say that obviously if there's a war, the human suffering is something that will be the most devastating part of that. What we've seen in our lives is after an event happens, though, many times when human suffering happens, fear comes, and then of course we all do care about our own personal security, and so we do think about our money eventually whenever there is an event, and there's been lots of events during our lifetimes. But first of all, Charlie actually served in the U.S. Air Force, and you actually were stationed on the Korean Peninsula. And what was that experience like? Where were you stationed? And what's your thoughts around the possibility of an event happening?
Yeah, I went over there in 2003, right when Iraqi Freedom was the name of the war we fought in Iraq the second time. So I went to Korea because they were nervous that the North may try something at that time. So it was pretty high tension then as well. And we've never really had declared peace, I think is the right way to say. We've always been at war with North Korea since the Korean War. And they do have a history of every few years kind of getting this going again. This may be more intense than we've seen in a long time, the back and forth, the more missiles have been fired. But, we wanted to address this issue and try to kind of bring it into perspective a little bit for people today.
That's right, that's right. So the first point is that risk is always there. And so sometimes we don't feel like there's risk investing in markets, but it's always there. Anytime an event could happen, markets can panic immediately and get fearful. It seems like right now that the market's just been doing nothing but go up.
Yeah, and sometimes that causes us to get a little complacent, Kevin, like, hey, the past 5 years have been awesome.
Right.
We've had a couple of years where they've been down a little bit, but we've really been on a roll, and people keep thinking, hey, is this going to continue? And or they may be thinking things are always going to be great. We kind of get lulled into that sense of security sometime. But
well, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the Korean War. I mean, what if people didn't invest during times of trouble?
Yeah.
What if they missed a day or two or months?
Yeah.
Because that's really the first thing you could do is you could actually sell out of all your equities now in anticipation of an event happening.
That's right, yeah. The stock market is a fickle thing where most of the time it's up a little bit, down a little bit. And if you looked at it from a statistician's point of view, you wouldn't see a whole lot of patterns, but what you would see is short bursts of gains.
Right.
And this is what this slide shows. And that if you miss those short bursts or just a few of the best days, your return is drastically different. Kevin, I'll go through it here.
Yeah,
Let's
please.
see, if from 1970 to 2015, the total annualized compound return was 10.27, and I think that's definitely the S&P 500 index. Now, it goes here if you missed 1 day, 5 days, 15, but if you missed the 25 best single days in that 45-year period, your annual rate of return was 6.87.
Wow.
Versus 10.27. So that's just
almost a 4% difference if you just missed 25 days in the market.
So oftentimes when we have these events, the return or the market gains come quickly, shortly after. We don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but you have to be in the game to capture those gains.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're all hoping and praying that a war does not happen. And so if you do make your portfolio and go to cash here and something doesn't happen, then when do you get back in? What if you miss some of the best days? That's really the point here. So now let's go to what history shows, Charlie.
Absolutely.
Because the best guide we have, the future is not always the same as history. I mean, that's why they say past returns do not predict future returns or some way like that. So show everybody the article that you saw.
So there was an article in Market Watch, I think it was released today or sometime over the weekend, by Mark Hulbert. And so he took this research from Ned Davis Research, which kind of shows us the last, I think there's 50 crises that they captured from 1900 to 2014 and showed, what happened and how long did it take to recover from your pre-crisis returns, if you will. So 1 month after the crisis, you can see up to the far left of your screen, you're down about 3%. And then if you quickly come over here to 6 months after, you're up already. 12 months after the crisis, we're up. And we saw this September 11th. We saw this with other events. We had Crimea recently. We've had Greece. We've had a lot of things happen recently, but this is a long time. 1900 to 2014, there's been some major events happening.
So Charlie, if I may, our point is not that if there's a massive war or something else that the market's not going to crash down. We believe it will. Whenever there's human suffering, whenever there's visual things, fear is high, panic happens. I think our point here is that many times when the event does happen, the market's already down. And by that point, you're better off just not reacting to the news. And again, if you're investing for 10 years, you should not let a short-term event, even if it's something horrific, totally change your financial plan or your investing plan.
Yeah. And so the last point there, the third point, Kevin, is what can we do as investors, as advisors? What are we, what's our plan going into this situation?
That's right.
And, somebody recently said, how can we insure? Let's buy insurance, hey, we can do that. There's a couple different ways to, so to speak, insure your portfolio, not 100% wise.
Yeah, so we think the best way to insure against loss is to actually have bonds within your portfolio. That's right, boring bonds. Because if you have U.S. government bonds, we're not talking about high yield or junk bonds, we're talking about U.S. government bonds. Typically, when there's a problem in the world, U.S. government bonds actually will go up. And stocks will go down. So do you want to go over this data to show?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken, this is from J.P. Morgan Asset Management, and so we like to take financial history and go, hey, what can we learn from this? This is a great diagram of what we learned, and we learned that based on your time horizon, and based on how much insurance, aka bonds or fixed income or annuities, whatever you may have, that's going to pretty much determine your recovery time. So you can see here, if you're 100% stocks at the bottom of the market in 2000, I think this is
March 2009.
March 2009, then your recovery time it took a while because it was such a deep recession that we had. Now again, you go up here to the top dark blue line, that's about 40 stock, 60 bond. Your recovery time was later that fall. The bottom was March of 2009. Those folks, hopefully they were closer to retirement, they recovered the fall of 2009. So that gives you an idea of what does your recovery time need to be.
Yeah, and it's really simple math. If you have 100% equities and you lose 50%, you need to get back 100% just to break even. If you're down just 30%, then you need 50-something% to get back to even. So that's really, I think it's 59% to get back to even. So that's really the reason why owning bonds, if a bad event happens, such as the Great Recession, at least in this case, actually was some type of insurance against loss.
Yeah. The other form of insurance I love, Kevin, that we see when we do our financial planning with people is that, hey, if you save a little more, then it insures against these situations happening and affecting you so negatively. So you can insure yourself. You have more control over that than sometimes we think.
So we always believe that the best thing to do for investors and for people that are planning their financial future is just to be aware of what history can teach us. Be aware of the fact that when markets do go down, when there's major crises, there is historic precedence to show what's happened in markets in other time periods, and at least be ready for whatever can come along. Because Charlie and I really believe being ready, planning for things is the best way to have the best experience now as well as in your future. So thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.